What is up, everybody? Welcome back to another installment of Automotive Chaos. Today we are going to be focusing on our trunk. We have three things that we need to accomplish. Number one, I don't have a list here and I'm not good enough to edit the little bullet points that pop up, so just keep track of it, write it down, or just skip to the next video now. But we are going to finish mounting the fuel cell. We are going to add a separate ground for the battery, and we are going to add our last bar from the anti-roll bar cross member to the parachute cross member to actually anchor the fuel cell. So it doesn't sound like a lot, but it is a lot of work, which is why I've been putting it off until now. So enjoy. All right, one thing I want to do in the trunk is make a spot for battery grounds, just for the battery. So what I did is I ordered this from McMaster-Carr. This is 5/8 outside diameter, and the inside diameter is 5/16. So that's already the correct size to run 3/8 16 tap. So what I'm going to do, and I already have it set up in the tube notcher with my 1 5/8 hole saw, is we're just going to cope this end so that will fit directly on the bar in the trunk. And then we'll cut this down. I'll tap that for a 3/8 coarse bolt, and once that's welded on, we'll have a solid spot to ground the battery in the trunk, and this way it'll be underneath the trunk floor and kind of hidden and out of the way. So we'll notch this, and then we'll get that tapped, and then we can go ahead and pick a spot and weld it up. Next up, we are going to make a crate or cage for the top of the fuel cell. So what I'm going to do is mark this channel that I have here at 20 inches. So that is the width of the fuel cell. Straight edge on it. Okay, so that's going to sit on the top of the cell, and then on this side we are going to put a 45 on this flat piece up top, like so. So once this is cut, we will then cut another piece that's going to be flat on one side, angled on the other, and similar to what, like crown molding, those two will form the corner on the top and then the straight on the side. And then once that is all cut and welded up, we are going to add tabs, one on either side, and I have some threaded rod and aluminum sleeves, and we're going to bolt the top portion to the bottom portion, and then the crate that's on the bottom of the cell will get bolted to the bars in the trunk. So I'm going to go ahead and mark this other side and start getting this cut out. I'm going to start cutting these marks that I made on this other channel If any of you guys are looking for an investment tip, find out whoever gets the proceeds from any time I buy one of these and invest, because every time I go to Home Depot I buy another pair and I can never find them. So just a little tip. All right, let's start cutting. Quick update. Went to go test fit this piece, and I'll explain those notches in a second. So the front side fits no problem, but because of the vent and the return line, this side did not. So I just marked that out. I actually used the diameter of a grinding disc, marked that, cut it, cleaned it up with the carbide bit, and now we have pretty good fitment around that. I might have to notch the other piece that goes on this side as well, but I'm gonna measure those out, mark them, get those cut, and then we'll do another test fit. Okay, with the pieces that we cut yesterday, I have it clamped down in the jig, and when I say jig I mean brick, but it gives me a square basically to clamp both sides to. So I'm going to tack this side over here, the one that's probably out of the camera. Yep. I'm going to tack that. I'm going to put the other side on, tack that just on those two sides. So if this needs to get stretched a little bit or brought in, just to actually fit nice and snug around the fuel cell, I'll still have room to do that. So I'm going to clean this edge up real quick, and then I'll set the welder up, and we'll get this tacked up. Also, if you're using these, I always make sure that I use a fresh one or something that I know has only been used on aluminum before. And I go pretty light on that. I really don't want to heat it up too much, because any contaminants in the metal will get basically pulled back into it. So I just scuff it with that, and then stainless brush, same thing, something that's only been used on aluminum. And clean that up a little bit more. Then just a little bit of acetone on a clean paper towel, and then you are good to go. All right, let me get the welder going. So welder's all set up. Let's get the filler rod. Quick wipe down. So like I said, just a small tack on the edge, This way we still have a little bit of room to maneuver it if need be. So I'm going to take this side, or these clamps off. I'll get the other side clamped up, we'll throw a tack on that, and then we will fit it around the cell and see where we stand. I marked the center line of this piece, and this piece, you kind of see the line where I scribed it there, and then I came up 3 inches from the edge on each side. So that's where the holes are going to be drilled for this. So I'm going to start, I'm going to drill those, and then I'm going to countersink them from the other side, and we're going to put a like a tapered head Allen bolt through here, through the bars on the cage to anchor it down. So I'll get these holes drilled, and we'll countersink the other side. Okay, went ahead and drilled the holes on the bottom of the frame for the fuel cell. Next thing we're going to do is take a countersink bit and ream those holes to fit the countersink bolt. And what that'll allow us to do is basically flush mount the head of this bolt with the top of that frame, so the fuel cell fits nice and flush on top of it and doesn't wear through the aluminum or anything like that. So I'm going to set that up on the drill press, and we'll get those holes opened up. All right, I was going to film that, but the countersink bits that I have, the chuck of the drill actually was hitting the top rib of this, so I just did it with the hand drill. You can see it set up there, but we have those countersunk now, nice and flush. Did the bottom ones as well. So now that we have that, I'm gonna put that tube that we cut before or notched, put that in the trunk, and we'll start lining this up and figure out where that bar needs to go. And then once that's welded in, that could get drilled, and then this can get anchored to that. So let's get started. All right, so I have this thing positioned pretty much where I want it. I just used some angle iron, clamped it to the flat edge of that, and then pressed the back half of this up against the bar. And then I just have another clamp on there, attaching that to the tube. So I think the next step is to drill the holes through these bars to actually anchor this thing down. So there's really not any way for me to get this camera or my phone in there for you to see it. I'll see if I can come up with something. If not, I'll just get those drilled, and then we will position this other bar over here where we want it to be. Alrighty, so we got both of those holes drilled. I may have to clean up those countersink holes a tiny little bit. It's really why I wanted to use the drill press, just to ensure that it was going in perfectly flush, but they were a little off. So we'll clean that up once we get this thing anchored down. I'll just take them out one at a time and open them up a little bit more. And then I'm also gonna need longer hardware Get you under the car so you can see. So, where is it? Yeah. Those bolts are just a little too short. Those are, I think, 2-inch underhead length. I went to like 4 different stores looking for a 3-inch underhead length with no luck, so I'll have to order those online. But for now, I at least know that I have the placement where I want it. Next thing, this is going to come back out. We're going to square up this tube, get that welded in, and then I can anchor this side down. And then after that, the fuel cell can go in. We can at least bolt it down and just make sure that everything fits properly. And then it gets to all come out again, so I can finish welding everything in here. And then, yeah, the cage is gonna have to get started pretty soon, because this is kind of the last thing to do on this car, or at least for now, until just to get it where it's running and driving again. The main goal was to finish up all the stuff that I cut out of the trunk. And then, yeah, after that, it's going to be the cage. So we'll take this back out, square up that tube, clean everything up, and we'll start welding this last bar in. All right, progress. Fuel cell is back in. I drilled the 4 holes through this new bar that we welded in a couple minutes ago. I have the countersunk bolts in there, -1. Couldn't find it before, found it now. I ordered new ones anyway though, because those were too short. There wasn't enough thread engagement on the bottom of the tube. But for now, it's in. Looks pretty good. I'm really happy with that. Like I said, this has been a project that I've been putting off for a while, and I'm glad that I finally started doing it. The only issue I see, and it might be hard to tell from where you guys are, but the 2 outlets on the cell, this is where the old feed was. I don't think I'm going to be able to get even a 90 hose end in there. So what I may end up doing is I'll just throw a cap on that one, no big deal. And because I'm welding a new bung on there anyway, I might just put the new one on the bottom of the cell. It's really not a big deal. There's plenty of room on the bottom to run the fuel line pretty much anywhere I want after that. So I think that's going to be the plan for that. Oh, so we still have to add tabs like this to the top piece. And I'm going to knock these riv nuts out. So originally I was going to use the straps, decided not to, so not a big deal. We'll drill those out. We'll get those removed. I'm going to pull this back out, and then we can align. We'll just cut some of the angle aluminum that I have to match this, weld it up top, and then to secure that, I ordered this. So this is just 5/16 coarse thread. And then I ordered an aluminum sleeve to go over the rod. There. So when I ordered it, I just made sure that the inside diameter of the aluminum tube was the same outside diameter as the all thread. So not only will it look a little bit nicer having this coming through rather than just threaded rod hanging out, it'll add a little bit of strength to it as well. So that's going to be the next thing that we do. I want to grab the battery box too and just put it in here. I already fit that up. I know it's going to fit. I really just want to see what it looks like. And I'm hoping, so I machined some spacers to come from the bottom of the tabs up to the battery box, so it's flush with the top. Hopefully I didn't lose those. If I did, I could make more, but so yeah, we'll grab that and we'll pull this back out and we will get started on securing it. Okay, so I went ahead and marked 1.25" tabs on some leftover angle stock. That will match what's on the bottom half of the cage for the fuel cell. And now we're going to cut them with the bandsaw. I'm doing it on the floor because I have no room on the work table. What a surprise. Okay, so I have this tab located more or less where I want it to be. The only reason it's lifted on this side is because I have the ground clamp on there. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to tack it on the top, move on to the next one, locate that one, tack it. I'll do all four, and then I'll pull this thing off. I'll finish weld all of them. Then we can put it back on, drill our holes on these, and then we can start cutting down those spacers and the threaded rod to actually sandwich this thing down. So I'm going to put the camera somewhere where you could see it. Probably just time lapse me welding because it's kind of boring and I'm not very good at it. So the time lapse definitely makes me look better. So we're gonna do that, and yeah, I think after that, this thing, not that it's going back in permanently, but once it's welded and secured, it could go back in. But like I said, there's a couple more things before we do that. I think I'm gonna end up, there's a couple more spots on here I want to clean up and weld. I actually had to add a little bit of a section here. I'm not done grinding that, but I want to fill in a couple of those spots, grind this smooth, and then this is all going to get painted black so you don't see any of this, any of the brackets on there. So, all right, let's get to welding. Okay, I have all of the tabs welded on the top portion. Next thing I'm going to do is we're going to find the center of these tabs, drill that out, slide our stud through, and we'll get a measurement on what we're going to cut this down to. Let's see what we got. So I'm just going to get pilot hole started, and then we'll open that up to the 5/16. All finished. Still have to trim the studs down a little bit, and I will hopefully have the hardware for this tomorrow. I think it said it should be delivered. So once I get that, I think we can rinse this thing out, maybe weld the bung on the bottom, and that'll be it. Okay, now that the cage for the fuel cell is done and that can finally be bolted together, the next step is to run another bar in between these two to bolt that cage down too. Sorry, I'm shaking the camera here. So I'm just going to take a quick measurement between the two here. About 19 inches between the two. So I will cut a bar down. I'll cut it at about 20 just to leave ourselves a little bit of room, and then we'll mark the tube and throw it in the notcher and start fitting it up. All right, so we're going to use that and 3 markers. To give ourselves a good reference point. All right, so it might be a little hard to see, but we have our 3 marks, and there's a couple reasons behind that. Number one, to actually drill the center of this to bolt that aluminum cage down to, and then number 2 is to actually line it up in the notcher. This way the copes are done on the same size. So we'll switch the camera over to that and we will notch this. All right, so the tube is obviously notched. Full disclosure, this is a different piece. I have to come up with a better center mark on the notcher itself to orient the marks that I put on the tube. So it's not the same piece I was working with, same concept. I just have to be a little more cognizant of where I have the center line marked on the notcher, but not a big deal. So we have that obviously to the right length now. I'm going to take this out, prep both sides, and we will start working on getting that welded in once I determine the width that this needs to be side to side in order to mount that base plate of the cage for the cell on there. So take this back out and we'll start getting some measurements. Next step is going to be to prep the ends of the coped tube to get welded in to the trunk. So I kind of cheat and I just use the other end of the tube notcher because it makes a nice clamp. It's sturdy, doesn't go anywhere. And then this I can't take credit for. This is, I think, FDF Fab Shop or Speed Shop on YouTube. He does a lot of roll cages. I was watching one of his videos the other day, and he takes a piece of Scotch-Brite, shoves it in a hole saw that's slightly larger than the tube that you're cleaning on the drill, and then right over the end. Good to go. So we'll wipe that down with a little acetone, clean up or deburr the inside. Actually, let me grab that now. Do that before I forget. Kick the compressor on, I'll clean that out, and then we can square this up in the trunk and start welding that in. All right, so the bar is in the car, squared up. I ended up throwing a small tack on this side just to hold it in place, and just enough where it had a little bit of wiggle room where I was able to get the magnet on that side and get it true in the car. Got the bar welded in, at least up top. I still have to finish weld the bottom. It was an absolute nightmare to actually work in there. I got the car up as high as I could in the air, and the hood was still hitting the deck lid, and I was sitting on that ergonomically designed chair, also known as a block of wood, and then working the foot pedal with my knee. But I got the hard part welded, so I didn't film it because I couldn't even get my hands in there, let alone a camera. But now that we have that done, we will get the frame back in here, drill that bar, and then we have to work on the supports for to basically clamp the two pieces of the cage together, which I got some material from McMaster-Carr in the mail today. So we will, that'll be the next step. All right, just a quick shot under the car with the battery box installed. I just wanted to show you those spacers that I machined down. So with this length, basically the box sits both flush on this bar all the way around, and then also on these, so when you go to actually anchor the box down, you're not, pulling it unevenly. So yep, that's it. And we got the ground lug welded up. I just tossed a bolt in there, but that'll allow us to run our ground cable through the trunk floor once we do it, and then just right to this lug. And I still have to, I'm gonna end up making little spacers similar to this, so when these are clamped down, it's square up against the tube and you don't have like a gap like you see in there. But for now, we're gonna call this project done. I'll bring you guys up top and show you what it looks like. All right. Starting to look like a car again. Got the fuel cell in. Like I said, I think those aluminum sleeves definitely clean it up a little bit so you're not just looking at threaded rod. Got the battery box in. Everything fits pretty nicely. Not much of a gap in between there. It was just the way I wanted it. Everything nice and tight. Obviously this cap is not bolted on yet. We still have welding on the fuel cell, but I like the way it looks. So there you have it. Yeah, everything's, like I said, this is still gonna get painted. I think I might paint this too, just because I don't want some aluminum brick hanging out in the back of the trunk. It might look a little out of place. So that's all gonna get painted, but we still have bars to weld in, both for the roll cage. I gotta figure out shock cross member. But this was a big project. May not seem like it, but it was a lot of work, and it's finally done, and I'm pretty pleased with how this one came out. So I think that's gonna do it. I don't know what the next video is gonna be. I still have to figure out a trunk floor. My original plan, or still my plan, is I would really like to run like a flat carbon trunk floor, basically from this side over to this side, and then just cut out for everything that we have here. I think that's still what I'm going to do. I think that would look pretty good, and it would be nice if we could run it all the way over to the inside quarter. This way, when you open the trunk, I mean, I'm really probably going to be the only person opening the trunk, but it'll just look nice and simple and clean, hopefully. That's that's still the look that we're going for. Nice and simple. So yeah, it looks pretty good. I would say borderline professional, maybe not. I still have, I've said it before in a couple of my videos, I'm by no means an expert. I kind of learn as I go, and hopefully I get a little bit better each time. Obviously my aluminum TIG welding needs some work. My measuring needs some work. Everything needs work. It's all a learning process. And if you're nervous about it not being perfect, or you know, maybe screwing up a piece of aluminum 10 times and it costing you $100 rather than 20, it's never going to get done. So you just kind of got to get out there and start doing it. So, all right, so that is going to do it for today's video. If you guys watched all the way through, thank you. I really appreciate it. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, or even if you didn't, please consider subscribing to the channel. It's absolutely free. So thank you guys again, and I will catch you on the next video.